Hey guys, in this podcast, you're going to meet the house cleaner making $630,000 a month. So we're going to talk to Johnny Robinson. He's a client of mine. And in the first part of the podcast, we're really going to talk about his story and how you can get into actually making money as a house cleaner and having a remote house cleaning business that you don't even have to be physically there to run. So if you're looking to make money online or create a business or create an income, this could be a really, really good thing for you. In this second part of the interview, we're really going to dive into Johnny's consulting business and how that works. So if you're a coach, consult, course creator, you're going to see how he went from zero to $630,000 a month very, very, very quickly. And at the very end, I'm going to teach him how to get to $1 million a month. So check out the podcast. You're going to love it. We'll splice over to that now. So I'm here with Johnny. Johnny, what's up?
What's going on, man? Excited to be here.
So what we're going to talk about is Johnny's story and really what's got him to the crazy place he is today. We're going to talk about the opportunity of house cleaning and how Johnny actually helps people get into this. We're going to talk about Johnny's business model a little bit. And then finally, at the end, Johnny's in my mastermind. So I'm going to ask him if he has any questions about how he can get to $1 million a month or even $2 million a month in his company. So I think the first best place to start is kind of give a people idea of who you are and sort of like right from the beginning, like what is the series of events that led you up to where you are now? You could start as far back as you want.
Yeah, so good question. The journey really starts like 19 years old, right? 24 now, so 5 years ago. Just got out of high school, going to community college, and got my first job as a lifeguard at a water park. And that was when I realized, like, hey, this really sucks. And I was making like $10 an hour, walking the lazy river, making sure kids don't drown. And did that for the summer. And I was like, I cannot get another job, so let me figure out how to make money. And so I Googled ways to make money, found different ideas and stuff. Called my best friend Sergio, as my partner, and said, hey dude, I want to start this business. Like, we should start one. You can just start a business. I thought you needed a degree to start a business. Like, know nothing about it. Family has no entrepreneurs in it. So Google the ideas, and he's like, hey dude, like, why don't we just like clean windows? And I'm like, clean windows? Like, you mean at the gas station, like clean car windows? He's like, yeah, let's clean car windows. I was like, dude, we're not gonna make any money doing car window cleaning at the gas station. But we Googled window cleaning, found out it's an actual industry that people pay for, like residential, commercial, storefronts. They need it done. So we're like, all right, well, let's run it. Bought some Walmart polos, spent $150 all in, some squeegees, a bucket, and we just started door knocking, dude. Like, door to door, donut shops, liquor stores, cleaning. Our first job we landed was like $12, and it took us like an hour and a half. So we made like $3 an hour or something like that, something ridiculous. But we were stoked. Like, we made money for, like, making that first dollar on your own just hits different. So we were stoked. Just continued to scale that business and all throughout college. So we were building this all while we were in college. Did like 5,000 our first year. Then we did like 25, 30,000. Then we did 200,000, and then we did 750,000. And by that point, we were running it remotely in an interesting way, where instead of hiring employees, which we had tried and built up a team of 9 employees with the window cleaning business, and it was just a pain in the ass managing people who, like, managing window cleaners, right? Like, it was so tough to like build culture, get them, get them aligned with our values and stuff when they were like busting their ass, like cleaning dirt off glass. So we were like, okay, well, this sucks. We were taking money out of the business to fund growth. We had to buy trucks, equipment, pay workers' comp, insurance. It was just ridiculous. We weren't that profitable. So we're like, let's switch the model. And we were in and out of the field still cleaning windows too. So we're like, we don't want to do this. How do we get out of the field? Switch to a contractor model where we hired contractors who already had the equipment and training necessary to go and clean the windows. And so then we started running it remotely, and then I started tweeting about it. And people were interested. They're like, yo, this is crazy. I've never heard about somebody running a window cleaning company remotely. And amassed a following on Twitter. And then I was like, okay, well, like, there's something here. People are like, how can I do it? How can I do it? But in most markets, window cleaning wouldn't work just because you need a really big metro of people who have the window cleaning equipment, which not many do. So I was like, okay, well, let me test this on my mom. My mom's a single mom, driving full-time Uber at the time. She was 63 at the beginning of the year. And I was like, let me do this for house cleaning, because I know house cleaning will work anywhere. Launched a house cleaning business for her, did $12,000 our first month, and ended up replacing her income in 3 months. So I was able to get her out of doing that with the cleaning business. Live tweeted that the build process the whole time, and that's when everything really took off. And everyone's like, "Hey, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this?"
Right. So let's pause there. A few things. So first of all, my man's 24. He's crushing it. That's amazing, dude. Second thing is, when you say so you started with cars, and then you went to so it was cars and then to houses, or like cars to windows to houses.
We went from thinking about doing cars. We never did
Oh,
cars
great.
because
Right.
it was like that we're not going to make any money.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
straight into windows, and then we started the window cleaning business, started the house cleaning business for my mom.
Right. Okay. A couple things. So what's really interesting is like my career started in sales, as a lot of people know. And if you look at a lot of like even billionaires or millionaires or just really successful people in general, a lot of them got their start in door-to-door sales or some form of sales. And you did door-to-door, right?
Right.
And especially to get your business going. What was the biggest one, maybe two lessons you learned from door-to-door?
From door to door, I mean, it's really numbers game. Like probably not the best like philosophical answer, but it's really just like being able to eat shit for a little bit before you get that yes. Because there's times where like we spent 2 weeks pitching, we didn't close a single thing. We had no idea what we were doing. We had no framework around selling. It was just like, hey, can we clean your windows? No. Like, are you sure? That was the objection overcome. Like, you sure?
Yeah. Do you feel like the door-to-door, though, that experience helps you now that you like have an actual sales business and a sales model, which we'll talk about later. But do you feel like that helps you now?
Oh, definitely. Especially being in like a remote environment, coming from door to door, it's like, this is easy.
Easy. Yeah, it's so much easier. So what was the thought process? So you were doing everything in person, then you started managing it remote, right? So walk me through the thought process of how like you decided, okay, I'm going to go from in person doing this to remote. I'm assuming that's because it gives you more leverage, it's easier to scale, things like that. How did that look like? And then how were you managing these folks remotely?
Yeah. So the thought process was, okay, every time we wanted to grow revenue in the window cleaning business, because me and Sergio's thing was like, hey, we want to go to 10 million. We've always thought big. We always wanted to go big. And we want to take this 10 million. We started thinking about it. We're like, dude, getting to 10 million in window cleaning business. One, is it even worth it? Two, the amount of trucks and labor we're going to have to manage at that scale is going to be absolutely ridiculous. So, and then every time we wanted to grow revenue, we had to add another truck. Then we had to add all the equipment for that truck. Then we had to wrap it. Then we had to staff the employees to drive it, and then we had to train the employees, right?
Right.
And buy the uniforms, you get the point. So we're taking out of the business to fund the growth. So we were always like, we would get a bunch of money in the bank account, and then boom, it would be gone like overnight because we wanted to grow. And then we're like, okay, there's got to be a better way to do this. Stumbled upon the contract. Like what happened was we had this big university contract we landed because we bought a business and rolled it up into ours. And they had these university contracts, and so we had 2 of these big universities to take care of during peak season, which is summer. And then we still had 3 trucks worth of residential to take care of. So 2 of our trucks were on the universities. We had 3, and then 1 was doing residential, but we still needed 2 more. So I was like, okay, how do we do this? We have to fulfill demand. And I called up one of our old employees who was out doing his own thing. I was like, hey man, you let me know. Like, he mentioned to me one time that he does contracting and he would take 50%. And I could keep 50%. So I was like, hey dude, like we really need jobs done. Can you swing this? He's like, yeah, it was like a $4,000 job down on the beach, huge mansion. We're doing everything, the windows, house wash. And he's like, yeah, I got it. Don't worry. Goes and does it. Don't hear from him for 2 days. Comes back to me, gives me the $4,000 check. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't have to worry about anything. He just went and took care. Just went and took care of it, you know? So that's how it was born. And then onboarded a bunch of contractors, switched a couple of our employees to contractors, leased out our equipment and trucks to them. And then I was like, hey, look, basically you guys are responsible for this now. I'm not setting the trucks up, not doing anything. You're going to get paid 50% of the jobs now, so you're going to get paid a hell of a lot more now, but there's more responsibility. And then what happened was we had a VA at the time who would quote and bid jobs on the phone. So we would book them all remotely. Through Google, we would use Google Earth to bid houses, so we would never do any in-person estimates. And then the VA, our admin, would then dispatch the jobs to the contractors, and they all had to download an app. And so they would get notified on their phone, like, hey, okay, I got this job for this much, this is my payout, and they would go take care of it.
So what were the results? That makes perfect sense. You know what actually reminded me of too? Is I remember in the agency world, people started, like, this is probably in 2010 to 2015-ish range. People were starting a lot of online digital agencies. And then the whole thing, and Sam Evans was a big pioneer of this, is being a digital marketing consultant, where instead of actually building the agency, all you did was you just closed the sale and got the business, and then you outsourced it to contractors who actually needed the business, and then you just managed the contractors and you made the arbitrage. So it's a very similar model for you, it sounds like, just with contractors.
Services, yeah.
Or home services, yeah. So what were the results when you switched it to remote and contractors, right? Like, I'm sure the profit went up, top line, like what was like that before and after?
Yeah, so I mean, we were kind of stuck around like 40, 50K. With the contractors, we were able
A
to
month,
go to
right? A month.
Yeah, a month.
Yeah.
A month. And after making the switch, profit shot up. We were able to grow a lot easier. Quality control was the same because people have this thought process like, oh, if I outsource, like I can't control quality. Well, our thought process was if we just have a really good brand on the internet and have really good customer service and communication over the phone, then everything will stay the same. It won't matter if they're not showing up in company uniform. And that turned out to be true. We didn't have to take money out of the business to fund the growth anymore, and we were continuing to grow. So we got up to about 65, 70K a month, and then actually sold that business.
Oh, nice. How much did you sell for?
100,000. So nothing crazy, but Home Service Academy at the time was just blowing up like crazy.
Yeah, it was more about freeing up your bandwidth, just getting rid of it.
It was a focus thing, yeah.
Okay, and so then you helped your mom be able to quit her income doing the same thing.
Right, with house cleaning. So we did that in January, launched in like a week off a credit card, off an Amex, and went to 12K our first month, $4,000 profit.
Yeah.
And got that to 20K in about 3 months, and now she makes anywhere between 8 to 9K a month.
That's awesome. So basically got that up to $1 million business, right? Which is pretty impressive. Like, I think that's not only impressive for your age, right? Not that, I would hate when people would tell me that, oh, it's so impressive for your age. I'm like, fuck off. But still, it is really impressive to do that so fast, just right out of school or right out of, just getting into the workforce for the first time. And then helped your mom do it as well. Now, you tweeted about how your mom did it. And then that's what really launched the offer that you have, teaching basically what you've done, which is what's really scaled the 600 grand a month, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, definitely. Keep in mind, too, I was a full-time college student, 15, 18 credits a semester while doing this. So
yeah.
Kind of hectic.
So that is pretty badass. So was this your first intro to Twitter?
Yeah, so I started tweeting last August. So just over a year now. We're recording this 12/23. So, I mean, yeah, like year and 4 months.
Yeah. So just for context, Johnny's business crushes it off of Twitter. And he's like, he's trying to get me on Twitter. I'm being lazy. But they crush it off of Twitter. They get a ton of leads from Twitter, a ton of, like, what do you think you close a month off Twitter?
At least 100K cash.
100K cash a month off Twitter. And that's purely organic, so that goes really mostly straight to the bottom line. How did you get started and get your initial audience on Twitter? Obviously, you made that post, but like, how did it sort of take off? Like, for instance, I have 0 followers, right? So for somebody who, they have something to share, but they don't know like how to get that initial traction, like what would you recommend?
Yeah, so the easiest framework I've used on Twitter, and what I realized I was doing it accidentally, but I was doing interesting shit, right? At least people thought so. I didn't think I was doing interesting shit, but people thought it was interesting. So like for me personally, like I think you're doing interesting stuff. And so I was just tweeting about it like, hey, I'm this, 22 or 23-year-old at the time, full-time college student doing this window cleaning thing. People loved it. And what I would do was write threads. And so the key thing was write threads, because all Twitter is basically a written TikTok. You can throw anything out there and it can catch the algorithm and go crazy. But the thing about Twitter is people are reading your stuff, so it kind of hits a little different than just like a quick, 5-second video.
Yeah.
And you have like a crazy amount of like the quality of follower on Twitter is a lot higher. And so what I did was I would tweet these threads, and then I would also, this is when I met a couple buddies of mine, Liam and Bryant, who have decent sized followings on there too. And they were also trying to grow their audience. So what we did was we got into a group chat, the 3 of us, and we would just pump each other stuff. And so they would give me an initial kick with like, to their 5,000 followers, they would see it, they would like it, they're like, oh, this is interesting, then they would retweet it, and that's how we were getting like 1 million impressions, 2 million impressions, completely organic.
Wait, so with Twitter, is it a content graft where basically Like even if I have 0 followers, it's going to serve impressions to people who don't know me?
No, so you're gonna need like a baseline amount of followers. But even if you've got like, I remember the first thread I put out, I had maybe 300 followers, and most of them were people from high school. And the first thread I put out, it popped off and did like 1,000 likes, a few hundred retweets, and got, I want to say, 500,000 impressions.
Interesting.
And it got me from like 300 followers to 2,000 off one thread.
Just like that. So now describe your business now and what you do.
Yeah, so now
We've already kind of went over it, but just to kind of, get a recap for people that are listening and trying to follow along.
Yeah, definitely. So basically I have a Home Service Academy, which is a 90-day program. We guarantee $10,000 in gross profit in 60 days, or we'll work with you free one-on-one until you do. And so what that looks like is basically do 80% of the work for you. You come in, build a house cleaning business, and you run it completely remotely. And you're not picking up mops, you're not picking up brooms, you're not going to houses. So we'll basically do 80% of the business setup for you. You really just have to hire the contractors. We'll show you how to do that, and then launch the business, turn on the ads that we show you how to run, and start making money.
Sick. So obviously for people who are watching this looking as a way, hey, what business do I start? What's a way to make money? And also to be able to do it remotely online. Like this is a real actual business, not just some like affiliate bullshit. Something that you can actually do, right? And so if you're interested in that, you can reach out to Johnny's company. We'll put something in the link in the comments. But if you have a consultancy or a coaching business and you want to scale it, this is going to be really valuable to you so you can see how these business models work. And this is really my world. So I know, I want to know the answer to this question I'm going to ask, but like briefly describe your business model, right? So obviously your offer is you help people start this business, right? And there's one-on-one support, there's a guarantee, all of this different type of stuff. There's also, I would imagine, course content to go through. There's one-on-one elements, there's group elements, there's a community, and maybe even events, right? Very, very standard in our industry. Let's start with stranger to paying clients. So like, how does your marketing process work and how you get customers?
Right. So we run just like a basic VSL funnel where I'm like, hey, this is the opportunity, book a call. Call goes directly to a closer's calendar.
Right.
And then they'll find us off of, Twitter organic. We've tried shout outs for a bit. A big one for us, paid wise, is still Facebook. So
Facebook,
just standard, hey, click to learn more. And then book a call with a closer. And then you can get on the calendar after you fill out, a type form application. That either goes to qualified or unqualified. And then if it's qualified, directly to closer's calendar. If it's disqualified, setters will call them. And then also, you have to opt in with name, phone number, email. And then the appointment setters also call them and get them on the calendar. They book about like 3.1 the last 90 days on average per setter.
Nice. Yeah. So to recap, right? You run an ad, Facebook ad, right? That Facebook ad reveals the opportunity, builds some credibility, etc. Then you get them to watch a training, which we call a VSL, right? A video sales letter. So you have them watch a training. And then from that, the training sells them not on the product, but on booking a call, right? Then you have an appointment setters reach out to people who are kind of iffy or like maybe not qualified, and people who opt in but didn't book the call. And then you have a closers. How many closers do you have?
We've got 4.
4 closers who close people, and I would say probably that means each of them does about 150 to 200 grand a month a closer.
Right, yeah. On average, we're pushing about 26 units per closer.
26 units a closer. That's very, very good. So, and then they go into your fulfillment system. So one of the things, and I don't know if you got this from us or not, is we were really the first ones that I've truly seen in the marketplace. Now, granted, I don't want to say we were first. I mean, I would suppose Alex Ramosi was probably doing this before I was. But like I had to learn really how to scale one-on-one support for offers like this at scale, at $1 million a month plus scale. Like last month we did 3.1 million. And so for you, what does your fulfillment system look like? Like you have CSMs, I'm presuming. How many clients per CSM? Like kind of how does that client journey look like?
Yeah, so to be totally candid, like we just copied what you did, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
So we have a CSM manager. Sergio runs like the whole customer success fulfillment department. And how it works is under Sergio there's a manager, and then there's 5 CSMs. Each CSM manages about 80 clients.
Nice.
And what that looks like is we have different activation points throughout the the customer journey, and one is like once you get to the hire, one is business setup.
Well, let's slow down, right? So like and this kind of goes back. I mean, this is a great example for people who are listening who have consulting businesses, but also maybe somebody who's interested in your program. like somebody purchases, what's the first thing that happens? And then like walk through those activation points. Now, for a definition's sake, an activation point is a point that the client reaches in the client experience or the client journey. By the very nature of reaching that point, they're exponentially more likely to get the result and therefore reach the other points, right? And so a great example is in our program called RCA, we help a beginner be able to certify them to become a remote sales rep and then go and work for somebody like Johnny's company. So essentially, our activation points is they attend their onboarding and coaching calls. That's number one, right? We make contact. Second is they do a certain training curriculum and role play criteria to be able to basically be able to certify them that they've actually learned the skill. And that's not just through going through training, even though it's part of it. It's actually doing activities and role playing and getting things reviewed and approved by a coach so we can see real skills being built. Then the next activation point is them landing their next interview. The next one is them getting hired. The next one is them getting a sale. And so you can see how if they get their first sale, they're probably going to have their career unlocked. And then each one, it's like a cascading kind of snowball effect. Like each one, they're more likely to hit the next step. So for you guys, what does that client experience and those points look like?
Yeah, so I mean, they got on with the closer. They're like, hey, I'm in, let's do it. Process the investment. They immediately get pushed into Slack, where they're introduced to their one-on-one coach. Coach sends a welcome video. Hey, welcome to the program. This is what to expect. Please take care of these pre-onboarding action items. They take care of those action items, and they hop on the onboarding call. On the onboarding call, we kind of go over your areas, make sure it's a good area. If not, then we'll pick a new area for you. And then basically say, okay, this is what you need to do moving forward, X, Y, Z, based on your bandwidth, your lifestyle, your needs. They get done with that, and then first activation point is business setup, right? They've got their LLC, they got everything done, ready to go. They're like, business directory set up, your Google My Business, your Yelp, etc. Once that's all done, another check-in. Okay, now it's time to set up our ad platforms. We're not going to turn them on yet, but we're just going to get them set up for now, and also the software and your website. So you get all that set up just so you're prepped. Boom, that's done. Now it's hiring. Once you get to hiring, we have another one, making sure you're talking to at least like 10 potential contractors a week, and then you hire your first one. Now it's time to make money. Check in with them again. Okay, here's how to do it. Turn your ads on. Here's how to set your contractors up on the software, etc., etc. And then first sale. And then they get their first sale. And once they get their first sale and they did everything right on the setup, it's pretty damn easy to get to 10K. And once they get to about 10, 15K.
Yeah, one thing I want to say though is when you set everything up and it's ads, right?
Ads, the software, and the website.
Right. But ads, and they're spending a little bit of money and they got customers coming in and leads coming in. That's the primary one to where if you could just even get them to do that, it's like a snowball, right?
Yeah.
It's like they got that downward hill momentum. The same way as like if I know if I can get somebody on one interview, I know then that means they can get on at least 10 interviews. If they can get on 10 interviews, they're probably gonna get an offer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cool thing about house cleaning is it's been around for so long. It's just such a proven industry. There's buildings everywhere. So like you turn ads on and customers are there.
Yeah. So what was your highest month in revenue so far this year?
630.
630. Sick. So that's cash collected. These types of businesses have good margins. I train my clients to have anywhere between 40 and 50% margins. Sometimes they dip 30 and you can get them up there. Both of my companies are 45 plus. So my question for you is right now, like what's keeping you from getting to $1 million a month? Hey guys, we'll get back to the content in a second, but I have a quick favor to ask. We don't run any ads or really do a lot of promotions on this channel at all, but the one thing that would really help us out if you're getting value from this is if you could share it on your socials. So specifically sharing it on your Instagram story through a screenshot or just pressing share and really sharing it on any platform. The main way we plan to grow this isn't through ads, it's through word of mouth. So if you're getting value, that's the one thing you could do. Make sure you tag me on Instagram at Cole Thomas Gordon. And with that said, back to the content.
I think it's just I got complacent a little bit with the sales team where we were at. We have four setters, 4 closers, 1 DM setter, so really 5 setters.
Okay, why did you get complacent though? Tell me about the complacency.
Yeah, just with I just wanted to fix a lot of leaky buckets as far as the processes go before ramping up, and I wasn't really sure what to delegate and what not to, because I have 2 partners, right? Sergio, and then there's also Gino, our marketer.
Right.
And I'm basically, full-time sales manager, so I'm doing all the one-to-ones, I'm doing all the ramp-up, I'm doing, responding to the end of days, running the whole show there.
Yep.
And doing that for 9 dudes is already a lot.
Yep.
And so I'm like, okay, when do I pull myself out? Or if I don't fully pull myself out, should I do player coach? I've been super in my head about player coach just because I've been reading books, and they're like, you don't see the coach for the Dodgers coming out and swinging.
Okay, so if you guys have a high ticket business, coach, consultant agency, anything like that, this is really, I'm gonna reverse engineer how we got to $30 million a year and we have a done for you service business and a training business. So whether you're an agency or whether you're a coaching business or a course business, right, this is gonna apply to you. There's basically 5 phases, okay? And I just kind of made this up, but I was on a walk one day and I was listening to a book, just came to me. So the first phase, and okay, so this is gonna be kind of like meta level content. And when I identify, because you're obviously in this phase, like I know exactly where you're at, and then I'll tell you how to fix it. So 5 phases. The first one is making yourself rich, okay? Now, this sounds a little bit crude, but what I mean by this is that the very first thing you gotta do is figure out what you're selling and how you're selling it. Make sense? So you gotta figure out, okay, here's the offer, and the offer has to have a few components. Number 1, it has to have the right packaging, which means it solves a specific problem for a specific person, a specific way. Right? So the antithesis of that is the full service agency that does everything for everybody. Okay? What you do is a specific problem, a specific person, a specific way. You're helping somebody who wants to make money online, start a home services business, and doing it through a remote contractor model. Do you see how that's different? All right? So that's how you have that already in place. The second aspect is economics. So when you start off, what you want to do is in the first phase, get it to 70 to 80% profit margin. Because that, when you hire a team, will allow you to get things back down to about 40 to 50. What a lot of people do in service-based businesses is they're at sub 100 or sub 150K a month, and or less than that, right? And they're at 30 to 40%, and then when they hire a team, they find themselves making 10K a month. They're like, I have a glorified job, right? So you kind of got to build the model to become great with the cash flow from the start. Does that make sense? The third thing is the scalability. So you have to sort of build the model in mind of having, okay, this is how I'm going to scale it to where I'm not going to have to fulfill on everything. So for instance, like you didn't have this problem because you got mentorship very early, but like imagine if you were like, didn't know anything about our world, and the first thing you thought of is like, oh, I got to just work one-on-one with everybody. And that's actually what I did. Because when I was doing my B2B company, I was at 150K a month, and I just was doing everything by myself, right? Like, and I had this belief too, that like, oh, well, my clients are doing, at that time, you had to do at least 100K a month to work with me. And I was working also with like these huge brands like the Tony Robbins, all these big brands. And so, I can't put them in group coaching calls. I can't outsource the fulfillment to a coach. Like these people want me, which was not true. That was a limiting belief. And granted, I helped clients through that limiting belief, but I had it myself, which is funny. So eventually what I had to do is I had to shift and figure out a new fulfillment system that could really and handle not a limited amount of clients, but could handle 5 to 10x growth, which is where I came up with the one-on-one client fulfillment system that we use at scale, which we covered at previously. That's phase 1. And that's figuring out what you're selling, right? So that's kind of part 1 of phase 1. Part 2 is how you're selling it. And that's really developing your first breakthrough marketing campaign, which you've done, right? Ad, VSL, then the closers. So once you have that, really I call that making yourself rich, because at the beginning, it's just generating a lot of cash flow to get your business up off the start. The next phase is making your clients rich. Now, again, this doesn't mean you make a shitty product at first and sell it and then fix it. But it just is, it's acknowledging the fact that in the beginning, you don't know how to make a world-class product because you don't have customers. You need customers to get the feedback to be able to make a world-class product. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So here, what happens is you've had this explosive growth, and you usually start to realize, here's everything about the product that needs fixed. We need to do this little part for them. We need to make more content about this. We need to redo the course so it's more streamlined. We need to add more group coaching calls. We need to add CSMs. Does that make sense? So that's called making your customers rich. Pretty simple. And that's really usually if you look at people's programs, they have we're on SDA 3.0, right? Well, we had 1.0, now we have 2.0, now we have 3.0, right? So this is usually your 2.0 version. Our 1.0 wasn't bad, but compared to 2.0, it was so shit, right? Now you're in phase 3. Okay, do you want to guess what phase 3 is?
Make your employees rich.
Make your employees rich, right? So you've probably been through the video. Or you were at the event.
Steve told me.
He's regurgitating my content. So you're in phase 3, making your employees rich. Now this is where a lot of entrepreneurs, they're at 200-300 grand a month and they never get past it because instead of really stepping into the space, what do? They launch a new business, they launch a new marketing campaign, or they just, I don't know, they fuck off. Like it's just, they don't want to manage people. Because a lot of people who have the skill set to do phase 1 and phase 2, which is a very innovative energy, right? There's 4 key energies in business. There's innovative, there's producer, there's stabilizer, and there's unifier, right? Unifier is like your HR person, stabilizer is like your finance person, producer is like your sales manager, really any manager. And innovator is like your marketer, your copywriter, your business idea, like it's the person with the ideas. Innovators ask why not, and producers ask what needs to be done. Unifiers ask, how can we do it together? It's like how we, and stabilizers, I forget what they ask, but it's like they want the systems, they want the processes. It's like the very like how-to person. So anyways, people get through phase 1, phase 2 easily who have innovative energy. And those are like these entrepreneurs who talk about like, oh, like I like to create. Does that make sense? They're like, oh, I really like to get stuff off the ground. I don't like to grow it, And I just think that's like, why box yourself into one identity? I want to have everything, at least to some extent.
Yeah.
And so the key is in phase 3 is stepping away from the innovative energy and actually just not doing any more marketing and only doing the producing, which means you have this breakthrough campaign. You need to ride this to $1 million a month, right? No more marketing. Then you might adjust it. You might fine tune it here and there, but really it may make some more ads. But you're not going to be launching new VSLs, launching new, none of that shit, right? We're going to ride this sucker as hard as we can, as far as we can. Because your attention has to go away from this and it has to go towards the producing mindset, which is really going to be managing team. So you have to step into being a leader of your entire organization. And for the first time ever, know how to set mission, vision, and values, know how to manage people, all of that stuff. And this sets you up for the next stage. Now, this is kind of where you're at now, and you've already probably stepped into pretty well. And so what's key here is you have to understand the meeting cadences you need with people, both team meetings and one-on-ones. And then a third thing is really there's 4. The onboarding and training processes, how to recruit effectively, how to onboard them effectively and ramp people up into KPI. And then also how to train them, manage them moving forward, which goes back to the meeting processes. And then the 4th thing is the QC processes. So how do you understand at all times what's happening on the front lines of your business? Because right now, let's say, for instance, this is how I was. From 300 grand a month to 1.5 million a month, I was managing the client success team. I was managing the kind of like the operations team in a sense, and I was managing the marketing team, and I was managing the sales team, right? So I was like the manager, one-man manager of everything, okay? And what had to happen is, and I wasn't really, this is in hindsight, I wish I would have known this, and I wasn't really good at this then, but what I should have been doing is those 3 things, and then the 4th thing, which is the QC, which is basically reviewing 20% of people's work, because that's going to be indicative of 80% of the results. So waking up every single morning and reviewing sales calls, reviewing setup calls, reviewing CSM onboarding calls, reviewing CSM one-on-ones, reviewing your copywriter's emails when they write the emails, reviewing your copywriter's ads before they publish your ads, and just feedback. And especially for like sales calls, for the business owner, it's usually unrealistic to review them all, but you need to review the 20% because that's indicative of 80% of the results. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's where you're at now, right? Most people don't even get there because they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm not a manager. I need a COO. Then they're faltering. How do you get to phase 4, which is making your leaders rich? Okay. So that's the level that you need to kind of progress through. And for me, I held on to stuff. I mean, I probably had at 800 grand a month, I started to have team leads. And then at 1.5 million a month, I made them true managers. What you want to do here is a few things. Number 1 is you want to think of it as like a volume knob, not a light switch. So what you don't do is okay, you're the sales manager, you're managing now. Okay, peace, I'm out of meetings. That's what everybody wants to do because they want a pendulum swing. So they want to be at a point where they're like, I'm so over managing the sales team, or I'm so over managing this, you just do it. You do it, And I get that. Like, I've thrown people at problems so many times. It's just not the best way to do it.
Right.
So what you do is you identify the right person who has like the hunger, right? They have the caliber, they're a great player, but they're also still learning in their coach, like they're a great player and they have the potential to be a great coach. And then what we want to do is we want to slowly ramp this person up. So we want to maybe have them still do sales 70% of the time. And then that 30% of the time, we want to give them a set amount of activities, QC, onboarding, training, and maybe like one meeting a week.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, dude, it's crazy. You like nailed it, man. Like that's you like what you literally just described. I've never been able to do that, but you just described like exactly the phases I felt like I was going through.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's exactly where I'm at. So I just gave I told basically there's 2 guys on my team. They're both closers, but one was like our best setter ever. Like set the record, like all the records.
Right.
Moved him, and I'm like, dude, you need to like run the setting team. I haven't set in so long. Like, you'd probably even just provide more value. And so I don't want you to start now, though. I want you to just do call reviews, make a report, and give it to me so I can give you feedback on your feedback. And
Sure.
Same thing with our best closer, who now is basically watching call reviews, doing the same thing he is, just with.
How many setters or closers do you have? Do you have 9 and 9?
No, we have 4 and 4 and 1 DM setter. But I'm also ramping up 2 more setters right now.
So you're going to have 4 and 6?
Yeah.
And before long, that'll probably be 5 and 6, 5 closers, 6 setters?
Yeah.
Okay. So the setter, you can probably take to a manager first. And you can probably take that person completely off calls. That's also an easier position to train than a closer manager. Okay? So I would do that first. That way you can learn the lessons as this other guy, there's a closer manager, is a player coach. And so you do that. Now, how do you bring this person up? This is the $1 million question. I feel like I naturally just knew how to do this, but I've never been able to like really teach it. Like, how do you develop leaders? It's so freaking hard. So what you have to understand is like, what is your leader there to do? Your leader is only there to make sure that people on the front lines are as close to the ideal picture, like the ideal amount of perfection as possible. Does it make sense? So like in your mind, you're going to have this ideal perfect picture of exactly what a good setting call should sound like, exactly what a good closing call should sound like, exactly what a good onboarding call should sound like, exactly what a good one-on-one's going to sound like, exactly what a good team meeting's going to sound like on sales, exactly what a good, you get the point, right? Like you're going to have these ideals of perfection, you know, and that's just by the nature of doing it a lot of times. And then so what you want to do is what are they responsible for? He's going to be responsible for getting the setters to as close to that ideal perfection as possible. Does that make sense? Right? Not only that, you're going to assign some KPIs, which obviously he's responsible for those. Sales becomes easy because it's sets and sets closed. So it's like, it's one of those 2 things, you know? So that's going to be his KPIs. And then also, that's the quantitative KPIs. The qualitative KPIs is how actually are his people sounding, okay? So what you do is I would make this person a manager now. I would set up a bi-weekly cadence with him, maybe even tri-weekly if you feel like you need it for 30 minutes, but probably bi-weekly is fine. And what I would do is review his numbered KPIs each of those times, where the team's pacing. If they're not on pace, why are they not on pace? And then what I'd also do is when he takes the group, his setters into breakouts, review how he does projections, review how he does the meetings, etc. Okay? Now, what I'd also do is in between those meetings, you have to QC his QC, right? So he should be QCing probably, and once you're a full-time manager, you might as well damn near listen to every fucking call, you know, 50, 60%. You're still going to QC 10% of his team. Does it make sense? Because if you listen to a setter, let's say who's 4 weeks on the team, and your ideal perfection is a 10, but this setter's at a 7, okay? This gap is going to be the blind spot of that manager. Does that make sense? Because what happens is your ideal perfection is at a 10, the setter's actually at a 7, but your manager is going to think he's at an 8. And that gap between the 7 and the 8 is his blind spot, which you need to help coach him on how to train them better. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
So it's kind of like it's like you're still stuck kind of doing QC. It's just not as much. But really at the end of the day, the quality of your business is the quality of the performance of the people on the front lines, the setters, the closers, the CSMs. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So if you can all you got to look at to measure your manager's performance is the quality of those people on the front lines, which can be measured qualitatively and quantitatively. So you need to create a cadence for you to where you wake up every single morning, you review this amount of setter calls, bam, bam, bam. You take some notes, you feed that back into what you're going to cover with him on the one-on-ones, and you're covering the quantitative metrics as well. So you're reviewing the setter calls. You also got to review the setter meetings. And I throw in a few of the setter one-on-ones that he's having, because he should have one one-on-one with one setter per week. So you review 10% of those, because 10% is going to give you kind of 90% of what's going on. And then you find out what, because, you know, if the setter's not doing good, but then you run it by him and he's like, no, I totally agree, this, and this, we're good. We're on the same page. But where you run into issues is the setter, you're like, oh, this person's not doing good, but they think they're doing good. And you have to open them up to like, hey, you see how they're doing this? You need to coach them to do this. Do you know how to give that coaching? And that's where you help them with their blind spots to get them to the next level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But how about in the case that like this dude that went from setter to closer, he also first month in closing pushes 32 units.
So what about it?
He went from like the dude who I was telling you about, who's like, hey, I'm adding more on your plate, right? You're gonna be doing call reviews to start, and I'll layer more on. You're saying to make him a manager immediately, pull him off calls, but he's also just a fucking beast.
Oh, so this guy, but you moved him from setter to closer. Now he did 32 units.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now he's probably going to be your closer lead, because he's
we have another guy that's at 35 though that I want to make closer lead. So it's kind of a weird predicament.
Yeah. So what I would do is I'd run how much that guy's making. Okay, because that's what we did. We moved one of the best guys from setter to closer, and he wasn't doing the second best, but he was like probably second, third, and then we moved him back to setter manager. And then you just got to hopefully he's not making 25K. Like a good setter manager, I think 10 to 18K a month is a good range. So hopefully he's not making like 30 and it's going to be a big pay cut. That's going to be a creative solution there if it is, but probably not. Like how much did he make?
He made 19.2.
Yeah. So what you can probably do, remember, if he doesn't have to take calls, it's a win. So I would make the on-track earnings to where they're making 13 to 15K a month with upside to maybe hit 20, 22. And then he's not going to have to take any calls. He's just going to be able to lead a team and build a new skill set. He'll probably be bought into that. Right? Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what you're saying is...
Yeah.
Yeah. You're saying you should make the comp make sense to match kind of around what he's making now as a full-time closer.
Yeah, it's like a little bit less. But the benefit is he doesn't have to take calls, and then he gets the upside of still being able to hit those numbers if the team does really well and grows.
Okay. That makes sense. And so even though he's just a beast, push 32 units, you're saying just get him bought in?
Yeah, because like that, the 32 units, yeah, it's just, the management is more valuable than 32 units because you're going to be able to buy back so much of your time. And the setters will be able to do better eventually, which, yeah, it's going to help a lot. So you just got to kind of bite the bullet on that one.
Okay.
The closer, what I would do is move him to a player coach. You give him a certain amount of responsibilities, this amount of call reviews, this amount of this, one run meeting a week, blah, blah, blah. And you do the same thing. You just review, and then you slowly start to give them more stuff. So you give them the onboarding, the training, that aspect of things. Then you give them all the call reviews and take them all off calls. And then eventually what you want to do is you want to get it to where all you do is you just run the daily sales meeting. That's it. Now, see, that's how when I say I didn't drop it to $1.5 million a month, really what happened was I was like, I honestly, Brian and Mitchell were doing all the QC, even probably at $400 to $500 a month. I just ran the sales meeting. And then, because that sales meeting just sets the tone, you know? And so it's the most important part. It's like the cornerstone of the team. And I didn't let go of the sales meeting till then. And then how I let it go is I just went down to 3 meetings a week, then I went down to 2 meetings a week, and then I went down to 1 meeting a week, and then I just was like, I don't even need to be here, you know? And so you just volume knob it. It's gradual. But like keeping that sales meeting as your one thing will be the guardrails to make sure the team is strong. Does that make sense?
Right.
So you're in a good place. I mean, you really should be there. And then you do the same thing with your client success manager too.
Yeah.
And then you have
promoted a little quicker. So he's been
and then you're gonna have 2 to 3 executive meetings a week, CSD, client success manager, setter manager, maybe your finance person if you need that person on there, and then you're gonna look at their KPIs, you're gonna coach them on their stuff, you're gonna review their all that, and then you're gonna have the one-on-ones a week with them as well.
Okay.
And then you're gonna have all your time back, which gets you into phase 5, right? Phase 5, I call reinvention. And reinvention is really where you have your time, like, because honestly, phase 4 can take you way past $1 million a month because you're gonna have so much time back. But at phase 5, you're gonna notice like, man, my model is like, you're gonna get to a point where you're on too many closers, too many setters, and they're not, it's like, man, like, it's so, like your managers are absolutely maxed. They don't have a lot of time, and you're gonna have to innovate to make your business more efficient. And so, you know how we did the auto webinar and it's a $997 thing, like that's how we kind of did that. So we grew our profit by like 3 to 5x, literally without having any more closers. You know,
Wow.
so we just made the model more efficient. And so you're gonna get into a point where it's more about now you're gonna add not start a new company, but add maybe a lower ticket offer, build on more of an essential ladder. Also, make sure your back end is better. Do you have a back end?
Yeah.
Yeah, so make sure your back end is better, make sure the upsell rate's better, and you're gonna have a lot more time. And really at that point, you really have a business. That's actually the best point because like you feel like, man, I can actually take a vacation. You know, you're like my business can grow without me. And then, you know, all during that time still, you gotta QC the manager's work and always review what's going on in the front lines of your company.
Yeah. Yeah, biggest takeaway, review the front line. I really like what you said about the frontline stuff.
Yeah, because the quality of your company is the quality of what's happening on the front lines. Setters, closers, managers, the copy that's being written. So as long as you review and QC that very often, you're gonna get a quality score of how good your managers are doing. So you don't have to do as much QC, but you're still gonna have to do a little bit of QC. And then eventually, like to be honest, like my guys are so good at this point, I don't really like. I'm not gonna QC the sales. Like they're really good. I mean, maybe every once in a while, once a month, I'll pop in a couple of calls to check out what's going on. But like, it's usually like, okay, it sounds really good, I'm good, you know? And so I just trust my people. But they've gotten to that point. And so the frequency of the QC goes down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's it, man. And honestly, you're at a point where you could probably ride your marketing campaign, because I think your numbers are really good, to like $1 million a month, $1.5 million a month.
Do you think also on top of like delegating that stuff, promoting, obviously he goes to full-time setter manager, I'd have to ramp another closer, and then just, I don't know, go off the numbers based off of like what they're closing at, spend the appropriate amount on ads and ride it out?
Yeah, like you're gonna scale by like looking at closers. So it's like, let's say you want to hit eight, like you know, 30 units a month, dude, is like I think we based ours on 27.5 per closer, because we'd have ones hit like low 20s if they had a bad month, and then our best ones will hit like 40. So it's like the average was like 28. And so we would average it out. It's like 28 per closer per month. And then if we want to hit, let's say 200 units a month, that's roughly about 8. Like it'd be like 210 units a month. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then so what I recommend doing at that point is like, you can still grow the sales team, have a big 10-person sales team plus, but it becomes very hard to manage at that point, because anytime you get past 10 direct reports, 12 direct reports, it becomes much, much harder. And so then what I would recommend is, okay, we got the sales team, they're really, really dialed, every single person's amazing. Now let's just make it so all the salespeople are making way more money and they're just taking better and better and better and better leads. That's what we did. And now our calendars are like half full, but there's like, we'll be able to scale to 300 to 400 units a month by just maxing out our closers calendar and hiring more setters. You know, so that was a big lesson for us, because we got to the point where we had 18 closers.
Holy shit.
And it just was too much. Like and they sucked. Like we didn't have the bandwidth to manage them all.
It makes sense, yeah. Even at 8 right now is a pain in the ass. So
Pain in the ass. But it'll be much better when you get yourself out of it.
yeah, definitely. No, I mean, I think after this conversation, I see a clear path on how to do it.
Yeah, it's
So I'm
easy.
pretty-
It's like
pretty
you
fired
just
up and-
gotta QC their QC.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you look at that and then you look at the numbers, the issue is the numbers wasn't always enough, because if they're not, like, look, if you want to hit 200 units and you're pacing 150 right now, and okay, let's say you're pacing 160 and we got 8 days left in the month and you got the holidays, like kind of left, you know, then the question I always ask, okay, if we're not pacing, why are we not pacing? The why you can get their response, which could be right or could be wrong due to a blind spot. The only way you see what the blind spot is by QCing their QC. And by seeing, like, what is their ideal perfection versus what is mine? What's the gap? How do I alleviate that blind spot? You know, like, are we seeing the same thing? Are they trying to work with people on the same thing? And if they are, maybe it's the people. Maybe we got to get new people. But it really comes down to that. I mean, what's interesting about our businesses, and you know, maybe it just seems like that to me, but like, I think it's so simple. You know, it's like very simple business model, but it just takes time to understand these little things like that. Like what I just told you, when I was going through it, I didn't understand that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, dude, I agree. It is pretty simple, especially coming from window cleaning. Like, you have to staff people to clean windows and buy trucks. Like, coming to this, it's way from like veteran difficulty to like recruit. You know?
Yeah, 100%, dude. What else, man? You got any other questions?
That was the main one, dude. I think you cleared up a lot. Just so you gave me a lot, dude. I'm gonna need the recording because I know it takes some time to post.
Yeah, we'll give it to you, dude. All right, we'll wrap it up. We're about at the hour, so dude, thank you so much for doing this, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Thanks again.
All right,
Peace.
sir.